The city above was alive with light, sound, and rushing people. But deep below, under broken streets, a poor human boy lived in the sewers. His name was not known to many. He had no family, no home. Only the tunnels, the dripping pipes, and the cold stones that surrounded him. Every day he woke to the smell of dirty water and mold, rats running across the floor, and the faint rumble of trains far above his head. He had learned to survive with scraps, stealing bread from the markets, drinking from cracked pipes, and hiding from the guards who chased beggars away. His world was small, dark, and forgotten, but it was his, and he knew every corner, every sound, every secret place where he could vanish if danger came. One night, while lying on a piece of cardboard near the old drainage wall, the boy heard something different. It was not the sound of rats, not the dripping of water, not the faraway noise of the city. It was soft, broken, almost like someone breathing heavily, and then a sound like pain, a weak cry echoing through the tunnel. The boy sat up, his heart beating faster, because in the sewers anything unknown could mean danger. Still, curiosity pulled him to his feet, and he walked slowly, barefoot, through the damp passage, his hand sliding along the rough wall. The sound grew louder, a mix of pain and fear, until he turned the corner, and there, under the flicker of a broken light, he saw her at first. He thought she was just another lost person, maybe a beggar like him, but then his eyes adjusted, and he froze. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly even in the darkness, her eyes large and strange, reflecting the weak light like mirrors. She was limping, one leg bent strangely. Blood, or something that looked like it, ran down her side. Her clothes were torn, strange cloth mixed with pieces of metal, like armor broken apart. The boy gasped but quickly covered his mouth, because he had heard stories of aliens, strange beings hunted by soldiers and scientists, and now one of them stood in front of him, weak, broken, hiding in the same dark place where he lived. The alien girl looked up, her eyes wide with fear, her breathing fast and heavy. For a moment they just stared at each other. Boy and alien, both dirty, both desperate, both not belonging to the world above. When she tried to step back, her leg gave out, and she collapsed against the wall, a low cry escaping her lips. The boy's first thought was to run, to hide, to pretend he never saw her, because if anyone found out he helped her, he could be killed. But something inside him moved, maybe pity, maybe loneliness, maybe courage, and he walked closer instead of away. "Don't hurt me," the alien girl whispered in broken human words. Her voice weak, the boy shook his head quickly. "I won't," he whispered back, almost afraid of his own voice echoing too loud in the tunnel. He knelt down, saw her trembling hands clutching her side, her face pale with pain, and without thinking he pulled out the small piece of bread he had saved for the night. It was hard and dry, but to her it was something, and he placed it gently in her hands. She looked at him with surprise, then with tears in her strange shining eyes, and slowly took a bite, as if every small piece gave her a reason to breathe. The boy asked nothing, only sat near her, listening to the sounds of the sewer. But she spoke, her words broken. "Hunters, chasing, hurt me, must hide." The boy frowned, confused. "Hunters?" he whispered. She nodded, shivering. "They find me." "They find you." The words chilled him. But before he could ask more, a distant sound reached his ears. Heavy footsteps, metallic echoes, something not human moving in the tunnels. The girl's eyes widened with fear, her body shaking. "They come," she whispered. "They come now." The boy's heart raced. He looked back the way he had come. The tunnel that led to his small hiding places. He had lived his whole life running, hiding, surviving, but never had he hidden someone else. Never had he protected anyone. Now in this one moment, he had to choose, leave her behind or risk everything. The footsteps grew louder, closer, like steel striking stone, and faint red lights flickered in the darkness far away. The boy took a deep breath, grabbed the alien girl's arm, and pulled her toward the broken pipe where he had hidden many times before. Her limp slowed her, but he dragged her with all his strength, whispering, "Quiet, don't move, don't breathe." They pressed inside, the pipe cold and narrow, and the boy covered her with rags and trash, hiding her silver glow. He held his breath as the shadows moved past the tunnel, figures in dark armor carrying glowing weapons, scanning the walls with drones that buzzed like insects. The hunters searching, their voices low and sharp. The boy felt his chest tighten, his hands shaking, but he did not move. He did not let her go. The alien girl's hand touched his, weak but trusting, and in that moment the boy knew. His life had just changed forever. The hunters passed, but their search was not over. The boy listened to their voices fading, knowing they would return, stronger, sharper, closer. He looked at the alien girl, her eyes half closed, her body weak, and he whispered, "Stay hidden. I will keep you safe." But inside, he wondered, how could a poor boy from the sewers protect someone like her? And yet something told him this was only the beginning. The night grew colder in the sewers, the air heavy with dampness. The boy still sat in the broken pipe with the alien girl hidden under rags. The hunters had passed for now, their footsteps fading into silence, but he knew they would come back stronger, angrier. The girl's breathing was uneven, soft but painful. Each breath making her body tremble, he leaned closer, whispering, "Are you okay?" Though he knew she was not. Her silver eyes opened slowly, reflecting the faint glow of the tunnel light, and for a moment he felt like he was staring into a piece of the night sky itself. She struggled to speak, her voice cracked and broken. "Why? Help me." The boy did not know what to say. His life had always been about survival. Taking food, stealing warmth, hiding from everyone. Yet tonight he gave his bread away to a stranger. "I don't know," he whispered. "You were hurt. I couldn't leave you." Her gaze softened, though fear still lived in her eyes. She tried to move, but her injured leg failed, and she fell back against the wall, her hand covering her side where strange glowing blood still leaked. The boy tore a piece of cloth from his shirt and pressed it against her wound, clumsy but careful, and she let out a sharp cry before whispering, "Thank you." For the first time, the boy noticed how small she was, not much older than him, her body thin, fragile, yet her clothes carried symbols and marks unlike anything human. There were shards of metal hanging from her arm, broken armor maybe, and a strange device clutched tightly in her fist, glowing faintly blue. "What is that?" the boy asked. Pointing at it, her eyes widened. She pulled it closer to her chest. "No touch," she said quickly. "Very dangerous," he nodded, not asking again. But his curiosity burned inside him. The silence stretched, broken only by the dripping of water, until finally she whispered, "I am not safe here. They find me." "They find you." Her words sent a shiver through him, but he forced a small laugh. "I've been hiding all my life. I know every hole in this place. They won't find us." She looked at him strangely, as if trying to believe, and then whispered, "You live here?" The boy nodded, "Yes. These tunnels are my home." The alien girl lowered her head, sadness crossing her face. "You are like me then, no place, no family." For a moment they sat in silence, two lonely souls under the city that forgot them. The boy reached for the last crumb of bread in his pocket, offered it to her and smiled faintly. "Eat. You need it more than me." She hesitated, then took it, her hands trembling. "You are kind," she whispered, almost surprised at the words, but before he could answer, a faint metallic sound echoed again through the tunnels, sharper, closer. The boy's heart jumped. He pulled her deeper into the pipe, whispering, "Quiet. Don't move." The girl clutched his arm tightly, her silver eyes wide with fear, and he realized that from this moment, her life was tied to his. The hunters were back, searching, their voices echoing through the dark, and the boy knew that the first meeting was only the start of something far greater than either of them understood. The boy pressed his ear against the cold stone of the sewer wall, the faint hum of machines growing louder with every passing second. The alien girl trembled beside him, clutching the glowing device against her chest, her breath shallow, her body weak. "They are coming," she whispered, her voice barely more than air, and he could hear the terror in her words. He had heard of soldiers before, guards who chased thieves from markets, but these were different. These were hunters, and they did not forgive. From the darkness of the tunnel ahead, red lights blinked, sliding across the walls like searching eyes. A buzzing filled the air as small drones floated forward, shining beams that cut through the shadows. The boy held his breath, pulling the girl deeper into the pipe, his hand covering her mouth to keep her silent. One of the drones passed so close that he could feel the heat of its beam on his skin, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The girl squeezed his hand tightly, her silver eyes locked on the hunters' shadows as they moved closer. The hunters themselves stepped into view, tall figures in black armor, their helmets smooth and glowing with symbols that shifted like fire. They carried weapons unlike anything the boy had seen, long spears of light that hummed with energy. Their voices were harsh, speaking in a language the boy did not understand, but the girl flinched at every word, as if their sounds cut into her soul. One of the hunters stopped near the pipe, crouching low, its glowing mask turning toward the boy's hiding place. The boy's chest tightened, sweat dripping down his back. If the hunter looked just a little closer, it would see them. The girl whispered something in her broken voice, a single word in her own tongue, and the glowing device in her hand pulsed faintly. The hunter paused, tilting its head, then turned away, moving further down the tunnel as if distracted by some other signal. The boy exhaled slowly, his lungs burning from holding his breath, but relief was short, because another sound echoed from behind them, more hunters coming from the other side, sealing off the escape. The boy's eyes darted around, his mind racing. He had survived many dangers in the sewers, floods, rats, even gangs of thieves, but never this, he whispered quickly. "Follow me," grabbing the girl's arm and pulling her out of the pipe. Her limp slowed her, every step painful, but the boy guided her toward a narrow tunnel only he knew, hidden behind a collapsed wall of bricks. The hunters' voices grew louder, the drones spinning through the air, beams slicing across the stones. The boy shoved a piece of wood aside, revealing the small gap, and pushed her inside first, then crawled after her, pulling the wood back just as a beam of red light swept across the wall. Inside the narrow passage, it was dark and tight. Their bodies pressed close as they crawled through the dirt. The boy's heart raced, his breath ragged, and he could feel the girl trembling with every move. Behind them, the sound of the hunters filled the tunnels, metallic footsteps and buzzing drones searching every shadow. The boy whispered almost to himself, "They will not stop." "Will they?" The girl shook her head weakly. "No, they never stop," for the first time in his life. The boy realized the sewers he thought were his home were no longer safe. The hunters had arrived, and they would not leave until they found her, and anyone who stood in their way. The narrow crawl space finally opened into a forgotten chamber, a place where old bricks had collapsed long ago. The boy helped the alien girl sit against the wall, her body weak, her leg trembling with pain. He could hear the hunters still searching in the distance, their voices echoing like thunder through the tunnels. But for a short moment they were safe. Hidden in the dark pocket of stone and shadows, the boy knelt beside her, whispering, "Why are they chasing you? Who are you?" She looked at him, her silver eyes dim with exhaustion, but still burning with something deeper. For a long time she said nothing, her breath ragged, her hands clutching the glowing device tightly. Finally, in a soft, broken voice, she whispered, "I was not a prisoner, I was a soldier." The boy blinked. "Confused soldier," he repeated, the word heavy in his mouth. She nodded weakly, her gaze drifting to the device. They want this." She held it out just enough for him to see, the glow shifting like liquid light, symbols moving across its surface as if alive. The boy reached out, curious, but she pulled it back to her chest, shaking her head. "No touch. Too dangerous." "What is it?" he asked, leaning closer. Her lips trembled, her words cracked. "It is a seed. A piece of my people's heart. If hunters take it, they use it as weapon, all worlds die, maybe even Earth." The boy's chest grew tight, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He looked at her again, not just as a lost, broken girl, but as someone carrying something far greater than herself. "You're saying if they get this thing, everything ends," he whispered. She nodded slowly, pain flickering across her face. "Yes, everything ends." The boy sat back, his thoughts racing. He was only a sewer boy, poor, nameless, forgotten. He had no weapons, no soldiers, no family. Yet somehow this girl and her secret had fallen into his world. Part of him wanted to run, to leave her and the device behind, to go back to the only life he knew. But another part, stronger, louder, told him he could not, that if he left her now, the hunters would win and all would be lost. He clenched his fists, whispering, "Then I'll help you, I don't know how, but I will." The girl's eyes softened, tears welling as she looked at him. "Why?" she asked again, her voice almost breaking. The boy hesitated, then whispered, "Because I know what it feels like to be hunted, to have nothing and no one but now. You are not alone." Her trembling hand reached out, resting weakly against his, and for a moment, in the cold darkness of the sewer chamber, there was warmth, but the sound of metallic footsteps drew closer again. Shaking the walls, the hunters were not far. The girl whispered, her voice urgent, "If they find us, they take everything, you must not let them." The boy's heart pounded. The secret burned in his mind. The hunters wanted more than just her. They wanted the power to destroy, and now he was the only shield standing between them and the seed she carried. The chamber was dark and cold, but for the first time, the boy did not feel completely alone. Beside him, The alien girl leaned against the wall, her eyes heavy with pain but softer now, less afraid. He had risked himself to protect her, and in that choice something had changed. The boy was no longer just surviving for himself. He was surviving for both of them. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the drip of water and the faint rumble of the city above. The boy found a cracked tin can, filled it with rainwater that had leaked through the ceiling, and offered it to her. She drank slowly, her trembling hands clutching the can as if it were treasure. "Better," she whispered, her voice weak but grateful. The boy nodded, sitting beside her, his knees pulled close to his chest. "You should rest," he said softly. But she shook her head, silver hair falling into her face. "I cannot sleep, they will come," she murmured, her voice carrying both fear and certainty. The boy wanted to tell her she was wrong, but he knew she was right. The hunters would never stop, so instead he spoke of other things, of the small world he knew. He told her how he had lived in the tunnel since he was a child, how he stole bread from careless vendors, how he listened to music that sometimes echoed from vents above. He laughed quietly, remembering once, "I found an old radio broken, but sometimes it caught voices, songs. I kept it until it died." The girl listened, her silver eyes wide. And for the first time since meeting her, she smiled faintly. Then she told him of her world. Broken sentences, scattered words, but enough to paint a picture. She spoke of skies filled with twin moons, of rivers that glowed like fire at night, of towers that touched the stars. Her voice grew soft, trembling. "It is gone now. Destroyed, my people hunted, scattered." Her eyes shone with tears, and the boy, without thinking, placed his hand over hers. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered, his voice low but firm. The girl looked at him, and for a moment, she seemed less like an alien and more like a lost friend. The boy shared the last crumb of bread he had, pressing it into her hand. "You need it," he said, and when she tried to give half back, he shook his head stubbornly. She laughed weakly, the sound fragile but real. "You are strange human," she whispered. "But kind." He smiled, though his heart was heavy, because he knew kindness might not be enough when the hunters returned. In the distance, faint echoes of machines stirred again, reminding them both that danger had not left. But in that small chamber, hidden from the world above, something fragile was built between them. A bond made not of power, but of trust, of loneliness shared, of two broken souls finding each other in the dark. The boy leaned back against the wall, whispering, "We'll make it." Somehow, and though the girl said nothing, her hand stayed on his, warm despite the cold. For the first time in his life, the boy did not feel like just a sewer rat. He felt like someone who mattered, and for the first time in her life, the alien girl believed she was not truly alone. The peace of the hidden chamber did not last. The boy woke to the low hum of machines, a vibration running through the stone floor. The alien girl opened her eyes quickly, her body stiff with fear, her hand clutching the glowing seed against her chest. "They are here," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The hunters have found us." From the tunnels outside came the heavy sound of armored boots, the sharp buzzing of drones, the metallic grind of weapons powering up. Red lights cut through the cracks in the walls, scanning, searching, moving closer. The boy's heart pounded in his chest, every instinct screaming at him to run, but there was nowhere left to go. The hunters were surrounding them, blocking every path, pressing in like shadows with no escape. The alien girl tried to stand, but her injured leg gave way, and she fell against the wall. Her eyes met his, desperate and filled with sorrow. "You should leave. Save yourself," she whispered. But the boy shook his head, his jaw set. "No, I won't leave you, not now, not ever." He looked around the chamber, searching for anything he could use, and his eyes fell on the old pipes and broken beams. He had lived in these tunnels all his life. He knew how they breathed, how they cracked, how they drowned intruders with sudden floods. The hunters stepped into view, tall and merciless, their glowing weapons humming with deadly light. "Target found," one of them said in a voice like grinding metal. The girl clutched the seed tighter, whispering, "If they take this, Earth dies." The boy stepped in front of her, his small body a shield against giants, his hands shaking but his voice steady. "Then they won't take it." The first drone darted forward, a red beam sweeping across the chamber. The boy grabbed a loose pipe from the wall and swung with all his strength, sparks bursting as the drone shattered against the stones. The hunters moved fast, weapons raised, light flashing in the dark. The boy pulled the girl behind a collapsed pillar, the air burning with heat as blasts struck the walls. He shouted, "Now use it, use the seed." The girl's eyes glowed faintly. Her trembling fingers pressed against the device. The seed pulsed brighter, symbols racing across its surface, the air crackling with strange energy. A sound like a heartbeat filled the chamber, faster, louder until light burst from her hands. The hunters staggered, their armor sizzling, their weapons failing, drones falling dead from the air. But the boy did not stop. He kicked loose bricks, yanked open a rusted valve. Water burst from broken pipes, flooding the floor. The hunters slipped, stumbling, their heavy armor dragging them down. The girl screamed with effort as the seed flared again. A wave of energy crashing outward, blinding light filling the tunnels. When it faded, silence followed, broken only by dripping water and the crackle of fading sparks. The hunters lay still, their armor shattered, their bodies unmoving. The boy stood in the wreckage, chest heaving, his arms cut and bleeding. But alive, he turned to the girl who had collapsed against the wall, her strength gone, the seed dim in her hands. He rushed to her side, holding her carefully, whispering, "We did it, they're gone." Her silver eyes flickered open. Weak but soft. "Not gone," she whispered. "More will come." Her voice faded, her body limp, but a faint glow still lingered around her. The boy held her tighter, his heart heavy with fear and hope both. For the battle was over, but the war had only begun. The sewers were quiet after the battle, too quiet. The boy sat in the wreckage, broken pipes hissing steam, the smell of burned metal in the air. The hunters' bodies lay scattered, their armor cracked, their weapons dark and silent. But his eyes were only on her, the alien girl, who lay weak and still in his arms. He shook her gently, whispering, "Wake up, please. Don't leave me." Her silver eyes opened just a little, a faint glow inside them, her lips trembling as she whispered, "You saved me." The boy shook his head, tears stinging his eyes. "No. We saved each other," she smiled faintly, then closed her eyes again, her body too weak to hold on. The seed in her hands glowed one last time, then dimmed, slipping into silence. When the boy woke the next morning, she was gone. No sound of her breathing, no silver glow, only the empty chamber and the faint mark she left on the ground where she had lain. For a moment he thought it had all been a dream, a strange story he told himself in the dark. But then he saw it, symbols glowing faintly on the sewer wall, written in a language he did not know, yet somehow he understood. The message burned into the stone like starlight. "You are the keeper now. Protect the seed, protect your world." The boy stared, his heart racing, the weight of her trust pressing down on him. He touched the mark and the faint glow spread into his hand, warm, steady, alive. The seed was gone from her body, but it was not lost. It had passed into him, hidden inside his chest like a secret fire. Above, the city roared with life as always, people rushing, markets shouting, trains screaming through iron tracks. No one knew what had happened below their feet. No one knew a poor boy from the sewers had fought hunters and survived. No one knew the seed of another world now beat inside his heart. The boy stepped out of the chamber, his face pale but his eyes steady. He was no longer just a nameless rat in the dark. He carried something greater than himself. Yet as he walked, he felt a shadow on his back. The hunters were destroyed but not gone, more would come. Stronger, faster, hungrier, and when they came, they would not only search for her, they would search for him. The boy clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "I will be ready." His voice echoed through the tunnel, soft but unshaken, for the next day had only begun, and the galaxy had already turned its eyes to him.